My boyfriend texted me at 4 a.m. saying he had a panic attack and I'm so dang happy. So I'm a very insecure person due to my childhood. Both my parents treated me horribly and I was on the streets at 17. I'm doing much better now, but instability was the name of the game for most of my life. I struggle a lot with relationships of any kind and get paranoid very easily. I'm working on my issues with a therapist, but the road to recovery is long and hard. When I go into one of my episodes, my boyfriend is constantly reassuring me. He's so patient it's heartbreaking. We've been together a little over 3 years now and I've gotten much better at managing my thoughts and feelings, but at the beginning of our relationship I would even get physical sometimes, throwing pillows and blankets at the walls, ripping my notebooks, etc. I remember one time, I finally turned on him. Instead of random objects, I was going after him. I started yelling at him, and when he kept responding to my screams in a calm voice, I started bending his arm over and over, in total probably over 200 times in the same spot on his right bicep, on repeat, just screaming incoherently and going at it. No, I wasn't on something. I knew what I was doing. I knew it was wrong. I still made the conscious choice to do this to him. In my mind, if I did it enough, the mask would finally fall and he would clap back or scream or do something, anything. He didn't. He stayed calm through my incoherent cries and swings. Not once did he raise his voice or get physical. Eventually I fell asleep out of exhaustion and somehow I woke up to him making us breakfast the next morning. Somehow, he still decided to stay. I asked him why he wasn't giving up. Why didn't he just leave? He said because I was worth it to him, because he believed in me and knew I would get better. I asked him what if I went further and did something bad to him one day. He just held me and said I wouldn't, because I'm not my parents. I would never unalive or think to unalive. His unshakable trust finally fixed what no one else could. I have never laid a hand on him, or anyone again, nor have I gotten physical in any way. Now 2 years later, we're currently in different cities because he's traveling for work, and he just texted me at 4 a.m. because he had a panic attack and needed me, so here I am, happy crying at 5 a.m. because I can finally help him too. He trusts me to see him vulnerable and tell me his insecurities. He trusts me to be there for him when he needs me. He trusts me to love him. I will never be able to repay him for saving me from myself. I will never deserve this angel. I was not a good person, though better now. I am still not perfect by any means. I don't know what he saw in me, but he stayed. He believed and trusted and loved. He healed me. I just hope that my love can bring him some fraction of the comfort his love has given me. So it has been brought to my attention my ex-boyfriend came on here to whine to y'all. Please do not feel bad for him, because that man quite literally left out so many things in his post to try to make me seem like the bad guy. If he wants to talk about our relationship to a bunch of strangers, fine. Yes, Mike was right about one thing. The relationship has been strained because of bills and finding well-paying jobs. That's literally because he has refused to work since 2020 when the virus started initially. We have been living off my CNA paycheck and the money my dad inherited to me. The only thing this man freaking did was stay in our guest room, play video games and live stream to his 10 viewers on Twitch and make absolutely no money. Not only did he have the audacity to make no money, but he got an $8,900 in online gambling debt. Then I gave him the money to pay off, like the dummy I am. So yes, I was heavily irritated with him given I was in nursing school and working at the same time. But it's not even the icing on the cake that he had conveniently left out. I was supposed to be expecting our first child this summer and I unfortunately miscarried. Instead of comforting me like a decent human being, he degraded me, blamed me for overworking myself, and said I caused the miscarriage myself. He randomly refused to sleep in the same bed as me, until I later find out he didn't find me attractive anymore and that he was disgusted by my body. I was depressed for months leading up to this and cried myself to sleep because I felt like I wasn't even good enough and developed an eating disorder. I guess he felt like verbally abusing me wasn't good enough, but started having an affair with my best friend since kindergarten. He was so dumb to leave his iPhone messages and I cloud synced to the iPad, so I knew everything he was saying about me. I was depressed for 3 weeks before cheating on him and hoping it was just a bad dream that a boy that was my first love and everything could hurt and hate me so much. So yes, last weekend when he said he was going out of town to see his dad, I knew he was lying and was going to go actually spend the weekend with my best friend. So yes, I called his brother over for help install something and his brother always flirted with me and I knew Mike was always jealous of his brother. It's quite pathetic when you think about it. His brother is on track to be a doctor and had multiple full-ride scholarships to multiple schools and is everyone's obvious choice between them, because he's actually a decent person. So yes, I screwed his brother all weekend and it was the best I felt in a long time. Is that morally wrong? Probably, but I needed to do it for my own sanity and to burn that bridge with our relationship so I can be done completely. The rest is directly to Mike since he blocked me. You don't get to play the victim online and act like you weren't actively trying to break me for these past 3 years. You made me feel worthless and that I wasn't good enough to get anyone else besides you. I hate that I wasted so much time on you, but I now realize I wasn't the problem, it was you. I hope you get help because you're actually a narcissist and I pray for any other girl it comes in contact, besides Fanny, because you guys deserve each other.
I purposefully ruined my cousin and ex's wedding and it's brought me a lot of happiness. I once looked up to my cousin. I thought he was a great guy, and we were close like brothers. I was also dating a girl. I was deeply in love with her and planned to marry her someday. I thought my life was perfect. One day I came home early because a colleague offered to cover my shift. I was pretty tired so I accepted and went home. Arriving home, I found them in my bed, making love. Both of them were shocked to say the least. I told them I wanted them to be gone by the time I got back and left the house. They were gone by the time I did get back, but she left me a note telling me she was sorry and to call her when I'd calmed down. I didn't call her. I texted her saying that I'd gather her things and drop them off at cousin's in a few days and that she's staying with him now, not me. I followed through with that. It took about a week to transfer everything. Both of them tried to apologize, but I didn't have anything nice to say to them, so I said nothing. I just knocked the door and handed the bags to whoever answered before leaving. My cousin called me multiple times to try to apologize, but I refused to accept it. 3 years have passed since then. I went no contact with them. I didn't bring it up to the rest of my family or any of their friends. I'm not sure why, I just didn't. I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, so I answered. It was my cousin. He sounded really happy and was acting like he hadn't destroyed my life. He explained he and my ex were getting married and he wanted me to be his best man. I was so angry that he had the utter gall to act like nothing was wrong and lost my temper. I yelled at him and called him names before hanging up. He sent me a text telling me the offer still stood and if I didn't want to be his best man then he just simply wouldn't have one. A few days passed by and I had an idea. I texted him back and apologized. I sent a paragraph of bull crap saying I was still angry but this could be an opportunity for the three of us to heal and move past it. He was overjoyed and said he'd pay for everything and he'd help me pick out a suit if I wanted. Which I accepted because I sure as SHT wasn't going to spend any money on his stupid wedding if I could help it. The wedding day came. I had spent the week prior writing a speech, putting all the negative feelings that had bottled up over the years into words on paper. The wedding was pretty good. I'm sure one of them has some nice well-paying job or something because they must have spent a decent bit of money on this wedding from how nice it was. Our entire family was there, as was a decent chunk of my ex's family. Eventually the time for my speech came. I just remember feeling really nervous as it built up to it and my voice kept faltering when I was reading it out. But I didn't and still don't care. At least I got it out. I explained what these two horrible people had done to me. I called them the worst names I could think of and wished them the worst. Then I left. I was expecting some kind of dramatic moment from all the guests, gasps of shock and all that, but there was none of that. Everyone was silent. On my way home I got a call from my mother angrily telling me that I'd ruined the wedding and both of them were so upset and she asked me why I'd do this. I told her that they deserved it for what they'd done to me and everything I'd said in the speech was true. She kept defending them so I swore at her and hung up. Since then I've gotten several calls and texts from others in mine and my ex's family angry I ruined the wedding. I've also received a few texts from people who were there being supportive and telling me they were there if I needed to talk. I'm not sure if I feel better having done this, but it did bring me great catharsis when people were telling me the wedding was ruined. At least now they've felt at the very least a fraction of what they've made me feel.
My husband keeps getting off by my childhood trauma even though I've asked him not to. I've tried everything. Nothing is working. Thinking of divorce. Please don't waste your time on the age gap. It's something I've dealt with for our whole relationship and I don't want to get lectured about it. I've been with my husband for 6 years, married for 2. I know he's older but he looks very youthful for his age and he's super fit and active, so honestly the age was never an issue, ever. Between the ages of 10 and 15 I was SA'd by my stepdad, and when I first started getting serious with my now husband, I told him everything, all the details, all the ways it screwed me up and all the horrible aftermath and fallout from various family members. In short, it was all bad, in every which way you can imagine. Within the last 4 months, every time my husband and I make love, it starts out normal but at some point he always starts asking questions about the times I was SA'd. He gets real graphic and because we're in the moment, I always answer his questions. I'm not a prude by any means and I even have my own personal likings which he always enjoys, but lately it seems his only thing to get off to is hearing me talk about the most traumatic time in my life. The questions he asks are so gross and so personal and he's never asked these before. The concerning part is he seems to get excited about the details as I answer his question because he always finishes super fast once he starts asking these questions. I've sat him down several times and told him how it makes me feel less than, how it hurts me, how it makes me feel like trash, how it brings me back to a horrible time, and I've told him to stop. He always apologizes about it and says he won't do it anymore, but then we start making love and whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes or one of our longer sessions, he always ends up bringing it up near the end of our session, a few minutes before he finishes. I write this in my bed alone as I've asked him to sleep on the couch tonight because he just did it again after I repeatedly tell him not to. I don't know what my next move is. I'm tempted to leave but I don't work and would have to take him to court to get some type of support so I can live, and I know that stuff takes time. I still love him and he's a great husband in every other sense, but this whole thing is turning me off and slowly but surely making me fall out of love with him. If he really loved me, why would he continually hurt me like this? Also, is it possible he is a perv, liking that stuff? How is this new? I've known him for years and he's never mentioned this as being a turn on. Any advice would be appreciated. I have no family and friends here as I'm new to the city we live in and my family lives in a different country. Thank you. Update. My husband and I have decided to separate for the time being as I can't really get over just how weird and hurtful he's been over the past few months. He is currently letting me stay in the house until we figure out the next steps, and although he keeps apologizing, I've decided to leave him and start my life over. To everyone telling me to go back to my home country, I can't, it's not so easy. I did however call my family and told them everything, and they were surprisingly supportive, and we've talked every day since my original post, and I couldn't be happier about that. To everyone who left me horrible messages, I'm sorry you're so full of hate and wish horrible things on people, but I will end up stronger than ever after this, so thank you. My husband has been nothing but supportive in my wanting to leave and start over, so all I can do is figure it out and take the advice of my family and my lawyer. Yes, I've been in contact with a lawyer but haven't hired her yet as I'm waiting to get the money from my husband who has volunteered to pay for it. Thanks again. Hope this update was sufficient for everyone. I just destroyed a marriage. Today, I just destroyed a marriage out of spite. I met Mike, not his real name, while I was on a work trip in his city. I work for a company that does events and marketing in different cities in Europe, and it's part of my job to travel to these cities and be present at events. I met Mike in April. He and I matched on Tinder, had a nice little chat, and agreed to meet up for dinner that same evening. We immediately hit it off. I was in his city for a week and we met up every night that week. We'd meet up once we're both free in the evenings. We made love after our second date and there was really good chemistry. Since I live in a neighboring country, just 5 hours away from his, we kept in touch. Our communication through text was seamless. It's like we never ran out of things to talk about. Every now and then we do video calls. He keeps me constantly updated with his life and would send me photos and videos of what he's doing at work, during his football games, when going out with friends, etc. I asked my manager if she can assign all events in his city to me and she approved. Didn't question me as long as I did my job well. So for 6 months, we were able to maintain a long-distance relationship, with me traveling to his city for work once or twice a month. We'd go on dates and I usually just let him sleep over at my hotel, since his apartment is 30 minutes away from the city center. He visited me a few times in my city on weekends since it was accessible by train. Now let me preface this next part by saying that Mike is not big into social media. We followed each other on Instagram but there were no posts on his feed. I don't use Facebook a lot so I don't see the point of adding him there. Mike is a pretty private person. I know a lot about his hobbies, what he does for fun, and some background on his family, but I didn't know a lot about his past relationships. I open up to him about mine, but I never obligated him to tell me his. One time, I got curious and did a little snooping on Facebook. When I searched for his name, I saw a woman with the same last name tagging him in a life event saying they got engaged. I did more snooping, this time on Instagram, and that's when I found out. Mike is married. I found the woman's Instagram account and it was filled with photos of them. He was never tagged in any of the photos so it didn't show on his profile. The last photo she posted of them was 2 months before I met Mike on Tinder. I confronted him. He denied it at first until I showed him screenshots of what I discovered. And that's when he told me everything. That he is married but having problems for months now. That he still lives in their apartment but he sleeps on the couch or at his parents' place. That he's been trying to fix things with her for a few weeks now, while in a relationship with me. I got angry. I told him that he should have ended it with me the minute he decided he was gonna fix their marriage. I called him a coward and a liar. He apologized. I told him that I will tell his wife everything. He begged me not to. He begged me for an hour on the phone and I just listened to him making pathetic excuses. He said that if I tell his wife, she would get hurt, and then it would not be possible to fix their marriage anymore. I told him that I didn't care and that he doesn't deserve my sympathy. So I told her via Instagram. I sent her screenshots of him denying that he's married. I sent her screenshots of sweet messages, heart emojis, and dirty photos that he sent me. I sent her screenshots of him saying he loves me and how much he misses me. She saw all the messages, left me on read, and then deactivated her account. He then called me saying that she is crying and angry and threatening to leave him. I told him he deserved it. I didn't mean to hurt her, really, but it was the only way for me to hurt him. I wanted him to be in so much pain and I felt bad that she had to be hurt in the process, because I could call him every ugly name in the book but nothing would hurt him as much as her leaving him. I just destroyed their marriage, and I don't regret it.